And welcome everyone to the Last of Us Spoilercast. As always, I am Mitch. You can follow me wherever the link tree in the description takes you to all the 692 channels. That sounds really obnoxious. The 692 channels.
That's very snobby. Yes.
I'm a YouTuber now. Yeah, and of course I'm joined by Sean.
Hey, you can follow me on Martian man, I am rusty and old. Marvin the Martian _12 on Instagram. That was bad.
I relate to the old feeling, especially
Me
today.
too.
I can relate to the old feeling.
I need to take two on that one.
So yeah, The Last of Us has come out. We've had 2 episodes now. Hopefully this comes out before the 3rd one. If not, I'm gonna have a problem with Armin. So yeah, this is just. I'm just gonna say that I think everyone kind of is gonna agree with this. This is the standard now, right? The video
I would
game
hope so.
adaptations.
Yeah, I think that this broke the quote unquote curse of adapting.
I think we need at least 3 things before the curse is broken.
Yeah,
Like three separate things. The Last of Us is number 1. I know people want to claim Sonic. No, in comparison, Sonic is, even without this, like Sonic is mid as all hell. Like, that thing is mediocre. I love it to death, but those movies are middle of the road at best.
According to film adaptations of video games, it's probably the most successful version of that.
I mean, probably. Hey, it's getting a 3rd one, right? That's more than anything else.
Enjoyable. Yeah.
They're fun. They're nothing to write home about. I change a lot about those movies, but they at least try and at least make it fun. Whereas you then get something like
Well, they try. That's the like, if you go back to all these film adaptations of to video games, they don't even try to even, like, Resident Evil. It's not Resident Evil at all. It's just Resident Evil name. Like, it doesn't even.
Yeah, even the new stuff is like horrendous, like the Netflix one. Oof.
Yeah.
People did not like that one.
I haven't tempted the fates to even try to watch that, but I've heard some.
I'm not a Resident Evil guy. I know what I mean is, and that one hurt him, but I was like, I ain't gonna waste my time. But on the flip side of that, Sony tried to give me a heart attack in the Monster Hunter movie. So
that was the worst. Yeah,
I have never seen a worse movie, and I'm like, why did it have to be you can't make a movie out of Monster Hunter. There is no plot to the game. There's a tiny plot, but it's not exactly movie worthy. It's like, hey, the animals are doing something. It's that archaeological stuff.
I would say that the worst is Uwe Boll's movies that adapt video games. Those are probably the bottom.
Has he even tried to adapt a video game yet?
He has several times in the past.
I don't follow Uwe Boll.
I mean, I only follow, like.
You hate watch him because you bring up quite a bit.
Well, I mean,
a reluctant fan quote.
Quote. No, you hear podcasts that do talk about these things, and like you get morbidly curious about some of this stuff. But I mean, at the very least, that he is. I mean, you can't even take him seriously. But like when you get like serious adaptations, like the Resident Evil stuff that are supposed to be like, I don't know, like big budget stuff, that's the real crime in my opinion, because it's like, like you should be more, I don't know, but I think, I don't know, I think Sonic is most successful in the film, genre of adapting, video games.
Yeah.
But
they weren't Uncharted, I can tell you that.
That was a fun movie, but
I was gonna say,
it was just fun.
Full admittance here, I haven't played the Uncharted. I know the story of the Uncharted games, right? Like, I've seen them. I've never actually played them, so I've got no real attachment to that franchise.
Yeah, I don't have time to play video games anymore. So.
That's an unfortunate problem.
2
I can't relate to.
2 PS5, one of them.
Send me one, because the Ethernet cable of mine is getting screwed, and I can't afford to get another one. I enjoyed the Uncharted movie, right? It's not. I recognize it's a bad adaptation of Uncharted, It's also got Mark Wahlberg in it, therefore it loses at least a few points. Mark
5
Wahlberg
points.
shouldn't be acting in anything. Was
Nothing
Tom
that
Holland
you-
the right cast? No. Did he do all right? Yeah, he did all right.
Yeah,
Well,
he at least could be the guy who
he
does all
tried,
the,
right?
like,
You could see that he was trying, but they
he's a
really tried to
physical.
they pigeonhole him into being Tom Holland. They want Tom Holland, Nathan Drake. Like that's what
Yeah,
everyone wants. But
I agree.
it's like Chris Pratt. Like everyone just wants Chris Pratt as Blur.
And you get that in the new Superman.
Yeah.
I'm sure of that. But like,
Which
yeah,
looks really good. I just hope he
it
doesn't say a
looks
lot.
yeah, let's hope it's just like a very bare minimum script for him, you know, like just.
But
be
I've
a
heard that
Mario.
movie's a musical, and it made me even more excited.
I don't know. I think I'm the opposite of this.
Like,
Sounds scary.
I am so up for a musical. It's not even funny. I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, with that cast, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
the only person that I can see singing is Jack Black, and just give it to him, man.
I know. I reckon Charlie Day can surprise you with that one. But
Yeah, he's great. Anyways,
but yeah, so that looks great. Fingers crossed for that one. Uncharted, man, it was alright. The last TV show we had for games was Halo, which adore Halo up to
very
Reach.
divided.
I'm very much like Halo ended at Reach. That was everything after that is dog water. It's garbage. But that show wasn't the best. I had some enjoyment with it.
I got no attachments whatsoever to Halo, so I watched it as a pure action sci-fi thing, and like a friend of mine works on the show, so it's like, and you know I liked it. I'm pretty sure I'm on an island by myself with that. You know, I thought it was.
It's a very controversial opinion to have because I think me, you, and Army might be the only three people to actually like find something to enjoy in the show at least.
Yeah, I think people just get too hung up on their perception of. They don't like the change. They don't like change on anything.
No,
you know, like.
admittedly,
like,
you know, it's
across the board.
the same problem as The Witcher, right? Like they're not adapting it. They're not doing Halo. Like, I get that, but Halo's lore is very all over the place anyway. So yeah.
I think people get too attached to what they're familiar with, and they can't let some of that go. You know, and then unfortunate, like, you know, the creators of the show aren't fans of the show. I think I had this discussion with somebody else. Is like I feel like when you make these properties, one, I think they should hire someone that's qualified, and then two, have some type of attachment to it. That way, when they make it, you know, some heart and soul goes into the show or movie. That way, I don't want a P.W.S. Anderson, you know, movie of Resident Evil. The guy has no attachment whatsoever to the property.
Well, he said he had attachment to Monster Hunter, and I can tell you that man boldface lied to me. He had he googled the favorite monsters that people have from that fan base, and he ran with it. And it's like, cool. I called that. You can literally go back on the podcast, and I told you the plot of that movie 2 years before it came out.
Well, reading the wiki page is not being a fan. I can tell you that. You know,
like, no, he didn't even do that. He did not even do that.
But
it was a Google image search. That was it. No.
That's how I would personally approach a show or TV or anything that has to do with pop culture. Is that, you know, you get someone that's technically qualified for the position of making a film, and then or TV show, and then two, they have to have some attachment to it, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to get anything that's familiar. You know, you got it. But on the flip side, the fan base has to realize that things have to logistically have to change sometimes to fit, you know, whatever, you know, like when you hire someone, they don't want to do something verbatim, you know, they want to put something in it themselves.
But
you know,
on the flip side of that, we do have The Last of Us to actually talk about The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Which has someone. Well, it has one of the co-creators. Now, that's a whole different story, because one of the co-creators is currently getting screwed out of everything right now, which please unionize and actually get what you're worth and everything. But strictly for the show, it's like 95% verbatim the game.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's some stuff added in there because you need to, right? You can't have Pedro Pascal looking through his bag, realizing he can't make a shiv for like
Yeah.
5 times in an hour, right? That's just not good watching. But like everything else is exactly the game.
Yeah. I like, it's just interesting to me how a person like Craig Mazin, which is the same guy that wrote all these like parody movies back in the day, and see how his career kind of evolved into to this point. Because like, I think him being a part of this show is a part of what I like about it now, because it's like, like I see, like, look, it's shot beautifully.
Oh,
It's
it's
gorgeous.
stunning. Though
It's gorgeous.
I will say the scenery in episode 2, the budget could be higher.
Yeah, I think they
It's
allocated I think the budget, when they do the budget, like the budget, you'll see the money at the end and at the beginning of the show. Like the first episodes and the last 2 episodes are always the best looking ones. Best.
I personally say all the budget's gone on like the infected, right? Because the clickers and stuff are practical.
Yeah,
and you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's they didn't waste no time on those things. They look fantastic. They also got the same voice actors from the game back, and it's the trauma comes back tenfold. It's just like, I hate the noise. Go away.
It interesting enough, like they're not always playing the character that they played in the show, right, or in the game, right? Because I'm gonna be honest with you,
the voice actors for the clickers are playing the clickers.
Yeah, but I mean, like, some of the voice actors aren't playing the same characters in the game, if I'm remembering correctly. Some are playing the exact character that they're playing.
I don't even know if any. Well, if they are, I don't know the voice actors in the game. If they're even in the show, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do like an Uncharted, right? And you see what's his face on the beach, being like, "Hey, I know that."
But I mean, the cast is. I mean, you want to start with the cast?
Cast is stacked. God damn.
We got Pedro Pascal. We got
the GOAT currently
Luna.
Right now.
Yeah, we got. I mean,
Gabriel Luna looks nothing like himself. I knew he was playing Tommy. The Tommy comes on screen. I'm like, I know Gabriel Luna's in here somewhere, but like, where is he? It's like, it's him. Damn, he looks so different. He's huge.
Yeah.
But that's a fantastic for the pair of them. Like those two together,
I mean, and like we haven't seen some of like the other casts, so far. I mean, like Nick Offerman's in there.
Offerman, yeah.
Melanie Lewinsky. I mean, Anna Torv. I mean, if anybody's a fan of like sci-fi TV, I mean, Fringe was like probably one of my favorite shows.
I adored Fringe. Yeah. And the second I saw her, I didn't know she was in this, and I was like,
she
looked nothing casting.
And plus, she looked really like she didn't look like she did like in the Fringe show. She was like very beautified and like like here it's just you believe that this is a person that's lived in this like hellscape for like years, right?
She is absolutely haggard.
Yeah,
that's what I like to say. They all look haggard, like that. You would be after X amount of years.
Pedro Pascal looks like he's been beaten down, like by life.
I always find it funny, like, because people have been like, "Oh, he's not Joel," and it's like you see the show, and it's like he looks exactly like Joel.
Well,
that is just not a white Joel. That's the only difference is the fact that he's not just typical whiteness, but.
I just like it. I just kind of like shrug my shoulders and say, okay, like they didn't get a white guy to play,
because a couple of before this came out, like in the summer last year, like me and a couple of friends were talking about it, and one of them went like, "I'm not sure about Pascal," and I'm like, "You are nuts." It's like, don't you think like the casting's gonna, it's like, don't you think the casting's going to change anything? And I was like, well, why would it? Like, what difference does it make? Like, Joel's character does not rely on him being white in the slight. And he's like, I like Pascal, but I'm just not sure. And it's like, I literally went to him, just wait. He is gonna just
play the game, man. How about that?
Oh, he's played the game. He loves the first one.
Like,
Oh,
I'm
saying
saying
like,
like
yeah, I get you.
to those
Yeah,
people, it's just like if you want the
yeah,
white guy, play the game. Just
yeah.
like you can't like I don't get it's just it gets tiring to hear about
It
things like
is.
this.
It
It's
is.
just
It's the fact that it's
so
infected like
old.
normal outside the internet as well it makes it even
It's
worse.
well,
It's
it's such
so
an old entire conversation. Like
yeah.
I mean, it's like it's never gonna change. I get it, but it's like every time that conversation gets brought up in anything, it's like, okay, your party did not win this year, so I'm so sorry. Like I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
just
I'd
get
say
over
that's very much for
get over
stateside,
it.
yes, yeah. But
Just
even
get
so,
over it.
yeah, I
It's
agree.
like it you these like you should be happy that they cast probably one of the best actors of our generation
Yeah.
in the role
Now
that.
the girl playing Ellie, I
Mhm,
can agree because I was like, oh, I don't know about her. Like, yes, she was good in Game of Thrones. I don't know.
mhm.
I haven't seen enough of her to know if she's going to be able to pull Ellie off. But I stand corrected.
Got
It's
proved,
like
yeah. Like
it's like cool. You that I can't say anything against her. Like you are Ellie at this point. Like I'm playing part two for the first time, so no,
yeah,
because
I gotta
I
say
didn't
like
get around to it. But it's
I
weird seeing actual Ellie's face, not the
yeah.
actresses. I'm like, you're not Ellie anymore. Like, go away.
Yeah, like I'm pretty excited to when I get time to actually play the game. This is probably one of the first times I've like watched the show, and it's inspired me to kind of like really, really want to play the game. And
Mm.
like I've always heard really good things about it. How it brings out
The
like
first
probably one of
one. Now, I've got a slightly different perspective on The Last of Us. I didn't play it when it came out. The first one, the story is fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. It is one of
that's
the
what I
best
hear.
you'll find in gaming. The actual gameplay is trash.
Yeah, well,
It is horrendous. And part two, everyone's like, it's so much better in part two. No, no,
yeah.
it is exactly
Well,
the same. It's bad.
I've I've heard bad stories about like negative things about the second story, and
Oh yeah, I
recently,
know I know a lot. Thankfully,
yeah,
I managed to actually go unspoiled for this game, and I now
really.
know why everyone flipped
But yeah,
out.
but
But
I think
I
to
just yeah.
well, I think I say to those people, I say trust Craig Mason. Like the guy, I mean, look up his IMDb and look where he has come from to where he's at. The guy
But
made
on the flip
Chernobyl.
side, you still have Neil Druckmann in charge of this show as well,
Yeah, well, I
which
think he's more. I
uh,
think when it comes down to it, I think the studio won, and then you got Craig Mason as like showrunner. I think
I'm
Druckmann.
possibly, but I'd find it very hard to believe that Druckmann doesn't have a major influence on how this show gets made, judging by how like exact this is being.
I say yeah, I would hope. I would hope that they give more creative control. Make him more of a kind of creator consultant versus actual creator to the show because I think they have to know that that second part of that video game is divisive, right? They have to know that. I'm sure it's pretty out there, in the ether about how people are
I
not
put it
happy
this
about
way, right? You are not going to be able to change the second part.
it.
When the story gets to the Last of Us Part Two, you can't change it because if you change it, you then fall into this weird trap of
Mhm.
you have to completely left turn from the game because
Yeah,
what
I mean,
happens in the start of the second one is fun. Like it's
I heard, yeah,
you go on
yeah,
a journey, um, but
I heard,
it's
yeah.
and then you at that point you're not adapting a game, you're making something wholly unique, and you're not making The Last of Us anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a part of the process, right? Like I think, you can't. It goes back to the conversation we just had earlier. Is like you gotta like let go of kill your darlings and let go of the stuff that you know
You
about.
do, but I think to a certain I agree to a certain extent.
Mhm.
I think with the Marvel movies, it's you can get away with that. I mean, they're only purely an example in this not
Mhm.
hypothetical, but it's in
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
You can get away with a lot of change because you can always write it off as a different universe in canon, right? Like these are the same characters, but they're alternate takes and all that stuff, right? That's a unique comic concept. You can get away with that. Something like, you know, take the Lord of the Rings, right? If Jackson came out here and did not stick to those,
Uh-huh.
like admittedly he's missing a lot of stuff, right? They're not Lords of the Rings. The Harry Potter movies, you change a ton of stuff. They're not the Harry Potter books.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm sure there's different ways to approach how that outcome comes about, right? I mean, we've already seen
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how you change that.
Haven't we seen some deviation from the game just in the second episode, right? Like, I mean,
in the sense that
the way Tessa's passes dies, it's not exactly how the game version happens either, right? She gets killed by the Feta in the game, right? Am I correct?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I think that's how it goes.
No, she stops the horde, doesn't it?
Okay, I'm not
your
best example.
No, neither am I, because a fun fact, it's been a while since I played it, so I actually can't remember. All I know is the way she, like, that whole scene where they are and how she reveals it is virtually one for one.
Okay.
My understanding, or at least from my memory, the thing that was different was which is weird. The kiss, wholly unnecessary. Didn't need to have it. That was disgusting. That was just there. I don't know why there was no. I can't see a decision being made that is a good one that led to there. So but if that's the trade-off for how the show's going, fine. I will take a good show with a weird scene in it.
I purely and I have no connection whatsoever or knowledge. I just purely say probably Anna Torv wanted to kiss one of the actors, and that's how.
That's how it comes across. Right?
Yeah.
So Druckmann's an executive producer on it. Like that's the extent he goes, I believe.
Okay, executive producer is such a broad term.
I was gonna say it's either he's
literally
very hands-on, or he's just taking the money in. No,
I would assume, I would hope that the studio and the creative people behind the scenes of the show would take more of a creative, approach versus letting him, because. I mean, I have no knowledge, but I would hope that just by knowledge of what happens in the second game, it doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound good. I think it would be a really terrible version of that show. It would just be really, I don't know. It would be really, really, what's the word? I don't know.
So without spoiling it, do you know what happens in that game?
Yeah, I heard that.
Without spoiling it, just yes or no. Just yes or no.
Yes, is what I've been told, and I think I wikied it, and I think it seemed like the way a certain thing happens, it sounds really lame. It sounds really lame from the game, and I'm like, if that happens in the show, I'm out. It just seems like such a lazy approach to.
But here's the thing, can you get from?
It'd be funny if we're not talking about the same thing.
I put it this way: people only talk about two things from part 2. One is Abby, and one is what she does. That's literally all anyone ever talks about in that game.
I think what she does is the part that I'm not a fan of, and
which is a part of that.
How a certain person exits the game weirdly is
I wouldn't have said that much, but
I don't know. I mean,
to be fair, everyone's already played it, but it's more as someone who's only just thankfully going past that part.
I'm just saying, it's hard to describe the moment that I'm talking about in the game.
That's why I was only asking for a yes or no answer. It's just,
sorry.
My apologies. It's fine. I'm not going to cut it out. Put it this way: the majority of people already know. Yeah, I somehow didn't get spoiled. I imagine there's a few people out there, but at the same time, most people who play games who will be listening to this would know exactly what that bit is. But that is
all I can say. It's just if it that's disappointing.
At the end of the day, I think because this is not even talking about the show we're currently on. It's talking about the other one, but it's part of the whole conversation, right? I think that needs to happen, regardless of what people think about. How it was done in the game, I think that moment needs to happen. It's integral to this franchise.
I'm not saying that what needs to happen should be not happening. I think it's just how it happens is kind of lame, if that makes any sense. I think I think how it happens is the lame part. Like what, like, does it? I think the thing that happened. God, I feel like we're playing charades here.
I mean, we'll get off this in a minute and go to the actual show because this is
I don't know.
at
I
least
think,
a few years away, right?
well,
At
yeah.
least.
Well, all I'm saying is, like, I think there's room. I think there's a wiggle room for a new interpret. I'm not saying like brand new show from the ground up. I'm saying a deviation. There's got
Events
to
can
be,
be slightly altered.
yeah. There's
Is
got
what
to
you're
be some
saying.
wiggle room creatively,
Yeah.
because you, like, if you creatively just translate a game from verbatim, I think it's just, I don't think it would be creatively satisfying for anybody, unless they
I know,
have.
because there's the whole media, like, because this is to completely get away from that. It's actually quite a nice segue. What this does, this show, these two, at least these two episodes, and I should imagine it's going to carry on going forward,
Mhm.
is this has solved the riddle and the question and the argument everyone's had for games for a long while. How do
Mhm.
you adapt that experience? How do you
Yeah.
translate the experience of a game over to an
Yeah.
experience in a show or a movie?
Mhm.
This show's cracked that.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
agree.
how they've done it, but they've managed. Maybe it
Qu-
helps that, like episode one.
Quality writing. I don't know.
Well, no, it's not the writing's not the thing. It's just the experience of a game, right? Because you're so
Yeah,
immersed in that, because it's
but
you project yourself onto this semi-blank slate of a character, and you go
but
forward from there. Like you grow and get to experience it through your own eyes in that, right? Whereas in a show
yeah,
or a movie, you don't get that because you're watching.
yeah.
Like
But
you're not
doesn't
in
this?
control of said actions in a show or a
But,
movie.
but doesn't the writing have something to do with that though? Like, the experience that that
See,
they put,
the two examples I was about to use don't involve the writing in the slightest.
or just creatively, like, yeah, like,
Because there's the two scenes, right? Episode one, you got the car chase where, not the car chase, they Joel and Tommy have literally gone rushed back to pick up. I can't remember his kid's name because she's only in it for 10 minutes. Well, I say 10 minutes, she's in it for half an hour. But they go back to get his daughter. They get in the car, and then you just have that chase where no one's really saying anything. It's quiet. All you got is the ambient like noise and panic going on around you. It's one for one from the game, and it's perfect. Like you people watching this show without playing the game wouldn't know that, but it's just by itself, it's just a really good moment.
no.
And the whole bit with the clickers in the second episode
Well, I mean,
captures like that experience from
well,
like no one likes the clickers,
cinema,
right? The clickers are terrifying in that game. Like somehow they made zombies actually scary in video games, and they grabbed that and just put it over here, and it's not
well,
like
well,
it's
I
not the
think
dialogue, it's not the script. It's just
maybe it's
they've done something to catch that
it's
experience of actually
well,
being in it.
well, what I mean is, like, maybe it's the creative behind, like, look, it's the cinematography, it's the ambiance of the scene, it's the music set to it or lack of music, like, I feel like
But it's all from the game. That's the
not
thing.
all of it. The scenes are not
Most of
like
it.
the shots are not 100% from the game,
Most of them
like.
are. Most of them
All right,
are.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
Like,
translating it is the way. I don't know.
like,
I just
yes, there are slight differences, but there's bits where Joel and Ellie are looking out over the city, right? The only difference is the time of day.
okay. I don't know.
That's like
All I'm saying
it.
is, like, maybe it's something that the people behind the scenes creatively are doing to create the mood of. It's not like that. If that's the case, then all credit goes to Druckmann, right? He's a
Well, that's
creative
how
for it.
that's how much power Druckmann has, right? That's the question.
I
Being
don't think
only
he's.
an EP is one of those like who's actually like is Druckmann actually really steering the ship on this, or is it the creators
I,
going, we actually
I,
need to do this thing
not
properly?
sure, but I
Right.
mean, if you get someone, I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. As a person that has worked in the business for a long time, I would find it very. as a person, like I'm not an actor, but I would assume the actors are like, why would I want to just create the game? I want to do something myself. I don't know.
I mean, I get what you're saying, right? You don't want to be, you don't want to get bored, but
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's, I don't know.
I don't know.
The show's done something, and I'm not adverse to changing. It's just the fact that it is. It's funny how everyone's obsessed with this show, and it is doing everything one for one.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until now, I mean, like we never know what the
I mean, that's true. That is very true. We've got what, 8 episodes left or something? I think it's 10.
Yeah.
8 or 7 episodes of however long the season's going to be. It's a long way to go, but
yeah,
as it stands right now, that'd be a weird change, right? You do the first episode virtually one for one in the game, and then suddenly you left turn something completely different. Like, is that a good story at that point? Like, forget the whole being. You don't want to bore yourself with just making something that's already been made. No, is that good for anything if you just start off in a sideswipe? Because you're literally asking for fan backlash at that point. But who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. It's a very I love the first episode, but I think the second episode at the beginning was probably my favorite part of the 2 episodes so far.
See, that's something I hope all these episodes do, is you have bits from before the outbreak, and you have like these scientists and like researchers who are so down on this idea. Like, you have the guy who I honestly thought was, I can't remember his name, but he looks a spitting image of he was a Doctor Who, and he was in Suicide Squad as well.
Yeah. I know like not Matt Smith.
No, I can't think of it. But yeah, he's the spitting image of him, and I know it's not him, right? But it's that whole thing of like his speech about these cordyceps, and like, if the temperature of the globe just goes up 1 or 2 degrees, then these things have to adapt and evolve, and we can't win. We'll be screwed.
That guy, I think, on the TV show, I forgot if it was the first episode or the second episode, where they're doing I think we're talking about the same scene, where they're talking as like a panel, and the guy who's like the host.
That's the first thing you see in episode 1, right? It's like the show from like the 50s or whatever, and he's talking about global warming and everything.
Side tangent, like that. I don't know if you've ever seen Silicon Valley, the show.
No.
Yeah, it's a funny show, but like it's about coders and stuff like that, but it's hilarious. The guy plays like the goofiest character in that show, and like I was every time I seen that scene, I was just like, I cannot. His name was Loudmouth in the show. They nicknamed him Loudmouth. Anyways, but I think my favorite scene there's a second episode with the scientist doing the autopsy, and another side tangent. Those nude scenes on the autopsy tables are probably the most unflattering for any actress.
I thought that, because I was like, damn, girl. That's brave. Brave. I wish I had that sort of body positivity, but I salute you. Like, you're fine.
I mean, getting paid scale, I guess, but
this is where it turns out it's just a mannequin, like, and it's all prosthetic, like.
Still, you gotta.
Even so, mannequin, you get that. You get your due, mannequin. You go.
Anyway, but like, I love that scene because I think it encompasses like the whole Last of Us, thing. It's like you can see in her eyes, it's like it's over. There's nothing you can do.
It's like, I am going to go spend time with my family. I suggest you bomb the shit out of this scene.
And apparently this is the person that is like the world's worth authority on this fungus, and it's like, it's like, oh man, that just brings down that first scene of that first 15-20 minutes of that first episode was really a downer too, but like I think this second episode with this like 15-minute beginning was just like, this really turned the notch down on the mood, because
I think that's because I want to say they're entirely original, because that's one thing they've changed. They've changed how the fungus works, I think.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Because it was, I think in the game it's airborne because you get spores, and then you put the mask on and you walk around and everything. But in this, actually, I quite. Because in this, it's not. They said something about the spores not happening, but I want to say in the game the outbreak started the same way as the TV show, or at least people have theorized that the game outbreak started in the same way. I don't think it actually tells you, but the TV show's now kind of confirmed. Like I couldn't say confirmed; it's used that theory as its thing, which actually leads to a nice detail in the first episode where they avoid like all wheat and gluten products.
Yeah.
Because actually, it does come back to like a bad contaminated crop, which I like that detail. I appreciate that.
I love the whole idea of like, because like the idea of zombies are pretty old and tired.
Yeah, it's
this brings a little bit more life into it.
Yeah, like it's not an original take on how zombies are, right? But at the same time, you always get your variations, and episode 2 takes the piss out of that slightly. It's like, I heard there's a big one that explodes, and it's like, I hope not. It's like, well, you're gonna get it. Hopefully, you don't see it, because that thing's silly. It's very video game.
Plus, I like the idea is like it doesn't say zombies. It's just it kind of
they're just infected.
It does the thing like The Walking Dead, where it's just like it doesn't use the Z word because the Z word is so tired and old, and it's like not. But it's like. But I love
it. Makes it feel a bit more unique, despite being very tropey and cliche.
Yeah, and I just love the idea that it just outright says why this is happening and how it's happening, and like the fungus is more it's based on a real fungus. I don't necessarily know that this could happen in real life, but I mean, like it's based. on a real
the whole thing with the ants is scientifically factual. They cordyceps do go around and control those poor little buggers, but
not sure
thankfully we are very not closely related to mushrooms and stuff like that, but the evolutionary split for mushrooms and people happened a lot sooner or a lot earlier than you think.
I gotta say that this stuff like this where it's like nature is more terrifying than zombies.
That's what I was going to say, right? It's a believable cause for everything. It's like, I know fungus and stuff like that. It's like, oh Christ, that thing's actually real. Like, damn.
Plus, it's more grotesque too, right? It's like more like
the head, like Flickers thing, like
the head just kind of splits open, and like you don't really see anyone. Like, and eventually you become just a lump of meat, with fungus on it. It's like with zombies,
you just become the fungus.
With like normal zombies, it's more relatable. You could see the human features and stuff like
that. Yeah, it's that uncanny valley thing, right? You can you know a zombie's a person. It's just like, dead person running around. It's not, you can make them terrifying, making them quick, but that's about it. Whereas this is like,
it's stalker. You got like
it's anthropomorphic, but it's very.
You got phases like the stalker where it just kind of sticks to the wall. You can wait for someone to come by, and like.
I say you have that with the like I think obviously for video game reasons, you see a couple of variants in this because the one that goes after her at the end isn't the same type as the clickers that bite her. But
might be the first phase of the because like they say there's four actual phases of the infection, and like
I think to get turned, but I'm not entirely sure after that one.
Well, like the first phase, you're more you still have human features, you still have a semblance of like a personality inside your head, and then like once you get to the clicker, it just kind of slowly devolve, and then once you get into the bloater and I forgot the other one phase, you're just completely
acid bloaters. I forgot about the disgusting.
But it's like it's so like I've seen this stuff in movies before, but like. I don't know, there's just like something more like grotesque about like you seeing that first episode of The Stalker on the wall. It's like that used to be a person,
ain't no more.
no
more. But it's more fungus than man.
But it's like that's terrifying. To think that that could happen, or in the show that could happen.
It also helped, that each bit, going back to the bits at the start, like each one just helps to set the tone of this world that they're in right now. Yes, they're playing on things that could theoretically happen if the right conditions were met. It probably would never jump over to people, but people said that about COVID, and here we are still dealing with that crap. But
yeah,
it's that sense of each flashback at the start is just a little bit more hopeless, or a little less hopeful, I should say, than the last one. The first one, it's all hypothetical. It's like this could happen, and this one's like, oh, now it's happened. There's actually nothing you can do about it. We have officially lost before it's even really begun.
Yeah, it's and then you got a little semblance of hope with her,
With old Ellie, yeah. Everyone knows how that goes. that goes away, but
south.
Yeah. So that's another thing as well. Going with the whole adaptation thing, that's not something you can change.
Yeah, but
because I think the ending of this first, at least the first game, the end, strictly sticking to the first one, because that's the one more people like, and it's more universally agreed upon that it's like one of the best things. There's certain points if you change it, it's not The Last of Us. If the ending of that game went any differently, like it wouldn't have had the impact it did, I don't think.
But don't you think that you can take multiple roads and get to that same outcome, or is it just like one route?
Maybe skipping over B and swerving through C quickly to get to D, sure, but you can't just start off at A and then go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. I mean,
if that analogy made any sense to anyone.
Well, knowing that, it kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it for me, because it's just like, I personally, I like when they take liberties, especially when liberties pay off in a better way. Sometimes, adaptations.
Yeah, but you can improve upon. You can stick to things that happen, and still tweak it and improve upon it. Like there's no reason they can't.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we still got
I'm just gonna say, I love the Infinity Gauntlet in the books, right? The whole Jim Starlin and George Perez. I adore that run. I would 100% say Infinity War is better.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a lot different context, but everyone knew people were going to come back regardless anyway. Like the whole ending of that movie was never going to ever be in question.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
You can. Yeah. And yes, that changed a lot of stuff, but the bits it stuck to, it's like, you can. If Infinity War couldn't be Infinity War if Thanos didn't do the snap, is kind of what I'm getting, I suppose. Like that whole story with Thanos, if you take the snap out and that whole thing, it's not the story you're trying to tell.
No. Like, look, I'm not saying change the outcome of the story. I'm just saying, like, isn't there room to kind of deviate?
There's room to change, but I was more talking about the whole bit with part 2 and the ending to this one. Like the ending to this and the start of part 2, you absolutely need. You can do them slightly differently, I guess, sure, but you absolutely need those two things to happen.
No, yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm not saying change it to where it doesn't happen. I'm just saying change it to be, I don't know. I mean, just tweak it a little bit. Tweak it, not necessarily, word for word or visual to visual. Tweak it a little bit. The change is not. I mean, the outcome is the same. It's just how you get there. Is what I'm saying. Like, can you deviate from that path to make it a little bit different, or do you have to physically, have the same outcome? I mean, the same thing happen to you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
That's really all I'm saying. Is like
90% of the time in agreement. And before 2 weeks ago, I would have agreed. They've now set a precedent for how close they're going with this game.
Maybe that's I don't know.
I would be very surprised if they're doing this, and at the same time they then, like obviously, like I say things are one for one. Obviously, they're not directly one for one. There are there are some
tweaks here and there,
slightly differently there, like time of day, the angles, but at the end of the day, it's essentially the same thing. But
yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the I guess I don't know. I think there's room to deviate a little bit and then have the same outcome versus having put that.
I also think because you've only read it on the wiki, right? Is what you said.
No, I've been told by several people.
You lose so much context from that. Like you get biases with that. Like that's so.
Well, I mean, I've heard it in both ends, but I'm sure it's because of like choices you make, maybe that may.
Oh no choices involved. It just happens. It's one of those. It's. You need to experience it for yourself. I personally, am I a fan of what happened? I don't know. Is my honest answer. Do I think how it happened was bad? No, I think how it happened was quite impactful, to be honest. I think there was a bit of a dark mirror in how it happened. Personally, that's just my taking it without really trying to spoil anything for anyone that doesn't know what happens in the game. But it's a bit of I don't know. If they do it the exact same way, that's fine with me. I'll wait to see how they play it off.
I mean,
I just
we'll see.
God help whoever they get for that character, because you've got a hill to climb, and I salute. Sure. Have I lost you?
No, sorry.
I was like, it's quiet.
I have a kid screaming at me saying.
He's not a fan of the second part, I take it.
He's against what I'm thinking, so for sure. It's always the case. Kids are always in the fence, yes. But yeah, I mean, we'll see though, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, right, we are so far away from that moment, but it's one of those. I don't think you can really. Unfortunately, you can't talk about the show without referencing everything that's already in pre-existence. But it is what it is. But I think we should probably start wrapping up. It's been going for 45 odd minutes, so I'm going to say I adore these two episodes. I think they have cracked what needed to be cracked for video game reputations. Does everything have to be one for one? I don't think it does, to be honest. I think you can get around that, but this show is very much making a very strong case for how you can translate the story and experience of a video game into a wholly different medium, which is vastly different from one another. So I personally, also we've had very strong shows, and it's only the end of January this year. I'm excited to see
how many episodes is this. Like,
I think. Oh, let me have a look.
Because that really, I think the right amount of episodes really makes a difference. Or whether or not they can.
I currently can't find it. Does IMDb say how many it is, or does it only count how many there currently are? 2, 3. No, it only counts the 2 that'll come out. I want to say it's like 8 to 10. It's that length, right? It's that usual that length, but we've got a fair few weeks left.
Yeah.
So part of me is really hoping it's not one season is the first part, because I think there's a really good spot in the game where season 1 can end, and I really hope it ends there. And in fact, I'm going to put money on it ending there.
I don't know. I mean, there was apparently the rumors of 10 episodes, but
I mean, 10 makes sense. I think it's. I would say I'm not sure how many it is, but
I think I don't know. This show definitely has a finite amount of material. If that's the case,
oh yeah,
like you're
yeah.
not gonna get like
Yeah.
a 5 season
Yeah.
stretch here, but that could be good, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's got a really good chance of being probably one of the best adaptations of video games put out there, and possibly one of the best TV shows in 2023.
Yeah,
So
because that's the thing, right?
yeah,
It's not just like a masterwork in how to adapt video games to a different medium. It's just a damn good show.
I mean,
it's genuinely just a really good show.
the only nitpick I had, and I think it's baked into the game anyways, but like that first episode, that beginning was super dark. I couldn't tell what was really happening.
Yeah, that was dark. Yeah,
That
yeah,
was probably the
yeah.
only nitpick, but I think that's more baked into the property itself.
See,
I don't.
part of me with that is I wonder if that's like a TV thing, because when I watch Disney Plus on the big TV, it's really dark. I watch Disney Plus on my computer, it's not dark. So I wonder, I wonder
So
what's playing. No.
I watched it twice, the first episode twice on the 70-inch TV, and it still was dark.
Is it in OLED?
Yeah, it was an OLED.
That's why it's dark. OLED.
Well, I mean, and I think I'm not the only person that said that.
Oh no. It's like like House of the like, to be fair, House of Dragons was like stupidly dark in some episodes, right? So it's probably a combination of some stuff's dark because
I think it's just.
Was it by chance like the car chase and all that? Like that was really dark.
No, it was just like that one scene where she wakes up in the middle of the night and she heard some stuff like the helicopters, and then the next.
Oh, it was the outbreaks like kicking off.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I think that more had to do with natural light, versus like I'm pretty sure they didn't want to put a spotlight or like lights above them, just kind of film it as it.
Yeah.
But
no, I'd agree. That was a very like dimly lit.
Yeah, but it got really better with the chase scene, because like with the fire and stuff like that, it made it feel.
Yeah.
Like the fire lit it up a little bit, like it got better with the chase scene, but it just was that small part where it was just like,
that one bit,
see what the heck was going on,
It's definitely a common theme with TV shows. It happens.
My problem was like I wanted to see the lady, right, with the fungus coming out of his mouth, and like
the little granny.
I wanted to see what it looked like. You eventually get to see it in the second episode, but like I was really intrigued. I think that first episode really had me on the edge of my seat for a little bit. I was kind of like minimizing the screen and like looking at other things, just trying to avoid the scare. I'm not scared. I'm scary, but it just was like very tense, and I think that really poured it really well from the game. I heard the game is really tense too. So
I say that the whole like outbreak kickoff moment in the game is the whole game's tense. It's the atmosphere in that game. The how they handle it is fantastic. But that's one thing they've managed to put. They bottled that lightning again and just like poured it in the show, and it's fantastic.
They did the same thing in the second episode in the museum, like with the clickers. That really was tense, that was really.
It helps as well. That scene, the layout is exactly how like the rooms in games are in that thing, and it's like go that way. Like, you can get away.
And like I think the framing was really nice, it was like
it's well shot as well. The show looks the cinematography is fantastic.
I had an idea that the scene, I knew exactly what was going to happen in the scene where he's like around the corner and the clickers after him. I knew once they moved the frame back over to where the door, the door thing, I knew it was going to be right next, but it still really got me, because I was like,
It's because it's that ugly. It's that disgusting. It's just like, oh, don't look at your face.
I think
your face is bad.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole design, like the zombies in Walking Dead have become more of a parody. versus like this is terrifying. You know, this is super terrifying. I don't want to eat mushrooms anymore. You know, after this show, you know, after watching the first 2 episodes.
Can't lie, I had mushrooms right before I watched that show, and I adore a mushroom. Absolutely adore. If fungus wants to take over, I welcome it. I welcome our fungus overlord.
I mean, like, take me. If you're gonna do it really fast. I don't want to feel it because that's got to be excruciatingly painful. You know?
I'm fighting that's what she said, Edge, right now. Very much. I know it was bad. You don't have to cry about it. I'm sorry.
He is upset big time.
But yeah, I think we're both in agreement. I think everyone can agree with it. I have yet to see a single person say this show's bad. And if you're saying it's bad, you're just a contrarian at this point. You're saying it's bad because it's popular.
You're just saying it to be funny at this. You're doing the Eternals thing with everybody, so just being funny.
Yeah. Poor Eternals. Maybe
you know,
it's fine. It's fine. I got a movie. I'm happy with it. If I get another one, cool. If I don't, I'll just cry about it myself.
But
so yeah, well, catch you next week for episode 3, or maybe episode 3 and 4 together. Who knows how it's going to play out? Hopefully, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. But so yeah, bye bye.